The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live on this Monday morning in the end of July 2023. In fact, it is the 31st, the very last day of July. Where is the year going, right? All the way to hell in a handbasket, I guess. But I'm excited to be back. Everybody in my house is now officially COVID negative, so woohoo, I'm back in the studio. Very excited to be here with you. If you don't know me, I'm Shannon Penrod. I am a proud pony. I am a parent of a neurodiverse individual and have been in this autism community now for 18 years, I guess. Yeah, because he's 20 and change, and he was diagnosed at 2.5. So very excited to be here with you. I hope that if you're here, that it's because you either love someone on the spectrum or you yourself are on the spectrum. And either way, we feel that you have something to add to the conversation. Obviously, vastly different, right? And we respect both sides of that coin because the experience is totally different. But here's what we believe and what I feel like I know. That we all want the same things. We want for people who are on the autism spectrum to be able to do what they want to be able to do, to have the skill level to be able to do it, to have the ability to communicate what it is that they want to do, to be able to make their own choices, to live happy and work and love who they love, all of those things, right? And so even though we have different viewpoints, from which direction, because if you're a person on the spectrum, that I'm 100% sure that feels different than what it feels like from the parent perspective. But I think both groups are going in the same direction. By the way, we also welcome anybody who is, there's people yelling. Just all of a sudden, people yelling. We welcome anybody who loves people who are on the spectrum, not just parents. So you might be a sibling, you might be a spouse, you might be a boyfriend, girlfriend, you might be a friend, you might be somebody who works with individuals who are on the spectrum, or is a co-worker of someone who works on the spectrum. A grandparent, an uncle. Think of all the different things you can be. We welcome all of you. So let's talk a little bit about the fact that we're live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and about a dozen other sites. Our fabulous Traven is going to start to show some of the places that you can be watching the show. Obviously, you can watch us live, and when you do, I love it when you guys interact. When you write in and ask whatever questions you have live, it makes me feel like I'm not a crazy woman alone looking at a screen and talking to a camera. So I love it when you guys talk to me, and especially if you tell me where in the world you are, because if you watch the show, you know I'm geographically challenged. Then I have to go look up where you live, and I'm slowly piecing together a map in my head. Anyway, so watch us live. That's an extra fun thing to do. But we know that the majority of you don't have time when we're live, which is 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, and that you watch us and listen to us in podcasts. So keep in mind that if you go, all of our shows over the last 13 years are on YouTube. You can search them by topic and title and even by date. And then if you're listening in podcasts, we're available wherever you get your podcasts. A great new way that you can be listening to us is if you go to our app. The Autism Live app is available in the App Store. I always get them confused because there's Apple and Android, right? It's available in both. So whatever you have, you can go and get our app. It's a free app. And you can get all of our latest episodes and search them and so on and so forth. Now, when we podcast, we have ads that come in just like in any podcast. And we thank those sponsors, and we hope that you're enjoying listening to those ads. If you really don't want to listen to them, I want to let you know that we do have a new way that you can listen to our podcasts ad-free. You guys have asked for that, and so we went to the time and trouble to figure out how to do that. And so if you go to glow.fm/autismlive, you can That's the only place that you can go to get an ad-free version of the podcast. You can do that. Again, it's glow, Glow no, I don't know. Glow, I'm messing it all up, Draven, because it's so new. Glow.fm, as in fun, Mary, right, /Autism Live. Glow.fm/Autism Live. And you can either get the podcast per month, and I believe that's a $5 charge per month, or we give you a hefty discount if you get it for the year, because we have to pay a certain amount for every transaction that you guys do. It's so complicated. So we give you a discount because we get a discount if you do it for the year. There it is, glow.fm/Autism Live. There we have it. That's if you want to get the ad-free version. By the way, there is now a separate podcast that's Ask Dr. Doreen. We're still putting the Ask Dr. Doreen's on Autism Live for those of you who subscribe. But very soon, if you want to automatically get that feed, then you're going to have to subscribe to the Ask Dr. Doreen, and its app is coming as well. And just a hop, skip, and away we're also going to be doing Autismo y Familia, which will also be its own podcast and have its own playlist. App. And, but we have other shows that we do on Autism Live that we're keeping on Autism Live for now. We'll see what happens. Let's talk movies. Let's talk all the things. And of course, Stories from the Spectrum. We're keeping all of those on Autism Live at the moment. All right, my friends. So that's how you do all of that. And we hope that you'll like, share, review. If you ever want to do something for us, and because we're on your Christmas card list, or you're just wanting to do something nice for us, give us a review, especially on iTunes, but I think there's other places to give reviews as well. That helps other people to know where to find us and watch us. So today we're going to be talking something that's very near and dear. I'm a foodie. Like, you can't look at me. Look, I'm a foodie. I love food, and I love food that tastes good, and food is love, and so I like to feed my family good food that tastes good. But we have lots of allergies and sensitivities in our family, and so there are many things that we avoid, one of them being gluten. Now, this is not true of everybody in my house. My husband does not avoid gluten, right? So if I want to make a treat and I want to make something that's wonderful and tasty and nutritious, and it doesn't have gluten, chances are, look, that my husband's going to be like, because I can have the leaded version, right? I don't want the unleaded. But I have found some tricks and things that I can make that I can feed to my husband, and he does not notice that it's gluten-free. And I can feed it to my grandnieces who come and visit, and they are not gluten-free. You know what I'm saying? So today we're going to give, and people always ask me, for years people have said, what are you feeding your child? What are the products that you're using? On Saturday mornings, sometimes somebody will write me, go, I don't know what to make for breakfast if it's gluten-free, and I'm taking pictures of things in my refrigerator. So for today's parent-to-parent talk, I'm going to go through the 10 gluten-free products that you need to try. These are not the dairy-free. At some point, I'll do the dairy-free. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my top 10, these are good things. Oh, my goodness, good things. I could have had so many more that I put on, but these are the best of the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go through it quickly and give you the product name and what the thing is, but then I'm going to go back and tell you what I do with it and how I prep it. Take a look at that. That is actual food that I have made. It is not, you can tell because it's not the best photography. But that's a pretty typical breakfast over the years that I've made for my son. And you can see which one of the products do you think I used to make that. All right, so right now we're going to go very quickly through the top 10 products that I think you just have to try. First, I always give you a disclaimer. I want to let you know that for all of these products, at the time that we are going live with this show, to the best of my knowledge, they are gluten-free, but recipes change. You always want to check the ingredients yourself to ensure that the products are still gluten-free. I've had this happen before where I'm eating something, or I've told somebody to eat something and it's so good, and then they change the recipe and they snuck gluten in, right? So especially if it's dire and important to you, make sure you check the recipes and check in. The place that we get our turkeys, I always call corporate every year and go, are they still gluten-free? Thank you. Yes, they are. Okay. So check. If it's important to you and you have symptoms, if you don't, do check. Okay, here we go. Here's our top 10. Number 10 on the list. Oh my gosh. Okay. Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, a must-have. You got to have it. I'll tell you in a minute what I do with it. Number 9, Barilla gluten-free penne. Ooh, good stuff. Must-have. I'll tell you in a minute what I do with it. Number 8, Scar pizza crusts. They're already fully made, and I'll tell you what I do in a second, but they're great. Number 7, wholesome gluten-free pie shells. Amazing. We'll talk about that in a second. Number 6, Sweet Lauren's sugar cookies. Ooh, good stuff. Number 5, so good but hard to find, Simply Smart from Purdue, and most of the time now you find them when they're gluten-free, they are organic. That's from Purdue. These are not frozen. They're chicken nuggets. They are fresh chicken nuggets. Simply fabulous. Number 4, Udi's French baguettes that are frozen. Number 3, Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free Hawaiian sweetbread. Stop the presses, so good. Number 2, breads from Anna. It's like Sophie's Choice here. I couldn't pick, so it's got to be both of them. The banana bread and the pumpkin bread mix, the best. And number 1, my favorite gluten-free thing, and I can make this for anybody, anywhere, and nobody knows it's gluten-free, King Arthur gluten-free classic yellow cake mix. Oh my goodness. It'll make a believer out of you. You never need to eat a gluten-free cake ever again. Happy birthday to everyone. Okay, those are my 10 favorite gluten-free products that are so good. Now let's back this bus up, and I'm going to take you back to the beginning. I'm going to tell you what I do with them, because sometimes that's really the important thing. Okay, so let's start with number 10, Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour. So think about all the times in your life when you need flour for any reason, like you need to dust a surface so you can roll out a pie crust. You're making banana bread, and it says to grease the pan and then lightly dust with flour. Think about if you're, anything that you would have used before for Bisquick or just to have flour. Let's say you're going to bread some chicken nuggets before you're going to do something with them, or you want to thicken up a sauce. Anything at all, I use Bob's Red Mill 1-to-1 baking flour, because over the years, what I discovered and a lot of people discovered is if you want to bake and you want to be gluten-free and you're going to make things from scratch, you're going to need to know what agar is. You're going to need to have like 3 different kinds of flour. No, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And so I would always have something like brown rice flour, which wouldn't get it done quite. It would gloop up, right? It wasn't the thing. This I can use I don't know all the ingredients in it, but it's gluten-free and it's got those things in it that you need to have in order to have the same consistency as if you were using a regular bag of flour. So I always have this in my house, and you can get this almost anywhere anymore, but you certainly can get it online. Amazon will send it to you, but most grocery stores have Bob's Red Mill. God bless Bob and his Red Mill. They have many great products, but this is hands down, I can't be without this. I have to say, if you're making cookies, this, when I think back to the early days when we were trying to be gluten-free and how it was a hard thing. And this product alone has made it so much easier, because you can be baking along somebody else and you really, this is all you got to have. This and whatever the other ingredients are, but you just take the recipe, what's there, and if it says flour, you put this in instead, and you don't have to add a whole bunch more stuff. So God bless Bob and his Red Mill. Good stuff. It functions just like you want it to. Okay, so, and how about making pancakes on a Sunday morning? Bob's Red Mill gluten-free 1-to-1 baking flour. Ooh, so good. We'll make it all happen for you. All right, let's go on to number 9 here. Oh, the Barilla. And I know when Rachel Bird was here last week, she pronounced that in a much more Italian way. I can't help you. I don't know what it was. But the Barilla gluten-free penne. Now, they make lots of different types of gluten-free pasta, Barilla. And I'm going to say this. They've got the mix down. Hi, Jose. Are you gluten-free? Feel free to write in other questions, too, you guys. We're capable of doing that. But Barilla, gluten-free pasta is really, really good. They've got the right mix because if your child, I'm not sure what all the ingredients are, and if some of you might have a corn sensitivity. This has the right mix though. Some of them are too chewy, some of them fall apart. Here's the trick with this particular pasta though. You got to follow the directions on the box for how many minutes that you cook it, but I do it a little bit different. So for instance, the penne I believe is a 10-minute cook. So I boil my water, and I have lots of water, and I put a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of salt in it, yeah? I had an Italian boyfriend a long time ago who was like, you can't make pasta without salt in the water. Okay, it does taste better. I don't know why, but it does. Okay, so you let that all come to a boil, and then you throw your pasta in the pot, and you stir it around, and you wait until it comes back to a boil, and you start the timer for 10 minutes, and you take and you turn the heat almost all the way down so it's just on simmer, and you put a lid on the pot. And the very second that the timer goes off, you got to rinse that pasta off. Otherwise, you're going to have either chewy pasta or pasta that falls apart. But if you will do that, you'll see it plumps up. It's fabulous. It holds its own. And what I do with the penne is that I make my famous baked ziti. So I cook it the 10 minutes, I rinse it, and I rinse it in cold water so it stops the cooking, right? And I let it sit so that it drains really well. And usually I make a triple batch of this because everybody loves it so much. So I have 3 boxes of penne. I have a huge can of, I get it at Smart & Final, their marinara sauce. And I have one of those big catering things, and I put just a little bit of pasta sauce down in the bottom of the pan so that nothing sticks. It helps to release. And I put just a little bit of olive oil on top of that, right? And then I have 2 different types of cheese, well, 3 really that I use, so that it's dairy-free. My favorite one, though, can't make this without it, is the Trader Joe's Parmesan cheese. But then I also have the Trader Joe's mozzarella, and then if I'm lucky enough to have some, I have the Miyoko's liquid mozzarella. I had to think for a second what it was. Liquid mozzarella. So I put just a little bit of olive oil and sauce on the bottom. I take half of the pasta, put it in. I mix half of the bag of the Parmesan cheese in and a little bit of the mozzarella in, and then I put sauce on top of that, and now I mix, right? And then I add the rest of the pasta in, the rest of the cheese is in, and the pasta sauce. Yeah, so that it's all mixed up nice, right? And if there's a little bit of sauce left, I make a layer of sauce on the top, and I bake it for 45 minutes. And at 45 minutes, I shake up that Miyoko's mozzarella cheese. It's liquid. It's the craziest thing. And I pour that over the top, and I put it back in for the 10 minutes, and it looks, oh my goodness, that bakes up like mozzarella stretchy. I don't know how liquid it changes into that, but it does. And I'm telling you, I take this to every event that we go to. They ask for it at the Ed Asner Family Center. And what's hilarious to me is that we always put it out, and we don't put a sign on it saying this is gluten-free and vegan, no dairy, no gluten. We don't say anything, but people always go, oh, ziti, and they take some and they put it on their plate and they taste it. They go, oh, it's so good, it's so good. I was trying to be gluten-free, but I can't. And then we break the news to them and go, yeah, no, that's gluten-free. And they're like, oh, how great. But the cheese, and we go, yep, no, it's dairy-free too. It does have nuts because one of the cheeses from Trader Joe's has cashew in it. So, but there are other ones you can do if you can't have nuts. So anyway, the best. And by the way, I feed this to my family and my family who are not gluten-free. My 2 grandnieces that come and visit, I make a big tray of this, and my one niece absolutely loves it. And her father, who wouldn't eat a gluten-free thing ever on the face of the planet, loves it as well. So Can't go wrong. You can feed this to absolutely anybody. Nobody knows the difference. It's the great leveler. Yeah, okay. So number 8, the next one here is the Scar pizza crust. And Parker says, I have to remind everyone that GFCF is not for everyone. In my journey, when I was diagnosed, we tried GF for 6 months and it didn't work. You do you, but diets are not one size fit all approach. Absolutely, Parker, absolutely. But the great thing about this list is that even if you aren't gluten-free, you might have a loved one who is. And everything that's on this list is such that you could make it for anyone. And it doesn't have to be part of a diet. You don't have to explain that it's a diet-free thing. These are things that are good all on their own. They just happen to be gluten-free. You know what I'm saying? You would actually enjoy these things. That's my whole contention for the show. So next up is the Scar pizza crust. So this comes vacuum-formed 2 pizza crusts, and they're separate, so you can do one at a time. It makes it so simple. If you're trying to put out a meal really quickly, you take it and you put your, so it's already sort of pre-baked, right? But you want to bake it a little bit more, and you can load it up with whatever you want to put on it. If somebody doesn't, like something, like I know people who don't like tomato sauce and they want barbecue sauce, whatever, and it's ready in 10 minutes, got a great consistency. A really, really lovely texture and super easy to make. It makes a really lovely treat at home. I love Scar products. I love them especially because they're soft and squishy. Like I love their buns too. They got many things that they make that are really, really lovely, but I love that they come vacuum formed. So it's shelf stable. You can, once you open the bag, you got to be using it immediately, but a lot of times I will try to buy gluten-free bread, and I find that we don't go through it fast enough because you really got to use it and use it when it's fresh. But I love these because vacuum formed and they've got a great consistency. Really, when I'm traveling, I usually take their bread products with us because it's just so much easier. But I love these pizza crusts. I always have these in the pantry because on a night when I don't feel like cooking, these are good. Okay, number 7. This is let me tell you, you know who loves this more than anybody else? My husband, who doesn't eat gluten-free. He loves these pie crusts, and they come 2 to a set. Now, you can do anything. When I do Thanksgiving, I make a pumpkin pie in these. They're frozen. I always have a set of 2 in the freezer because when you go to find them, everybody else is baking pies and everybody else wants them. Word gets out. You know what I'm saying? And so I keep 2 sets of, so it's 4 in my freezer for any occasion. You can make a pudding pie in them. You can also, what I do sometimes, if I'm going to make an apple pie, what I do is I take them out of the freezer and I make the apple stuff, stick that in the bottom, and I take the other one out of the container. I pop it right out of the container onto one of my silicone mats, right, with that 1-to-1 flour. I dust it. I roll that second one out, do whatever design, slap it on the top, and now I've got a topped pie. You can do that with any kind of fruit in the world that you want, right? But everybody says, oh my gosh, it tastes so good. The first time I did it, I was like, well, my apologies, the pie is gluten-free. And everybody's like, you need to stop telling people. It's so good. And my husband loves it. I do love, if it's a topped pie, I love to dust it a little bit with some sugar sort of at the end, and it kind of, it gets that nice sheen on it. It's really wonderful. Parker says, and is there any way for nut-free? I have a nephew that is allergic to peanuts and I want something that is good for him. And a lot of these things are nut-free, but all of these things are almond-free because my son has an allergy to almond, but I haven't checked it for absolutely all nut, and peanut allergy is the big one, Parker. So I would read the package on absolutely everything, but almost everything that we're talking about is nut-free. And he says, but this could be good for my cousin. She's celiac, and this is good for her. So I'm going to send this to her when the presentation is done. Thank you so much. Jose says, my 6-year-old son, gluten, dairy, egg sensitive. We have to be creative. Right. But these are some of the things that you can be using. And Parker says, and is there a way to make fresh gluten-free items like handmade pasta that is gluten-free or handmade pie crust or handmade turnovers? Yes. That first one that we had, Parker, that one-to-one, you can find any recipe that you have that for turnovers. Well, that one's going to be a flake crust. There is, I will tell you, Scar that makes the pizza crust. They make a phyllo dough that you would want for the turnovers, and it's gluten-free. So that's absolutely wonderful. But I think you probably could make your own phyllo with that one-to-one. I just have never done it, and for that, it would depend on if they're also dairy-free, whether you would use butter or use something else. So I have not tried that. That's a little bit more adventuresome for me. I used to try to bake everything from scratch. Who has the time? But you can with that one-to-one flour. It's really, really easy. Let's move on to number 6. This Sweet Lorenz, which you can get in most grocery stores. Here we have it at Ralph's. A lot of you have something called Kroger's, which is the same thing. These come exactly in the shape that you see on the baking sheet there. They're like little lumps, and they're like usually by the eggs. They're in the dairy case, with other things that have to be refrigerated, like the Pillsbury biscuits and things like that. And you'll find the Sweet Lorenz. And they have maybe 4 different types of cookies. And I got to be honest, the other ones have chocolate, and I'm allergic to chocolate. So, and it's not my son's favorite flavor. So I don't know how great. They have one that they only make during the holiday time that's like cranberry walnut. And then there's one that's all chocolate, and then there's a chocolate chip cookie. I usually get these whenever we're having guests over. I'll get a couple of, they're like flat bags, and they come with 12 cookies in them. And basically all you got to do is throw them out on the cookie sheet, and you throw them in the oven, and it makes the whole house smell wonderful, and you've got cookies for people. I usually do a tray of the sugar and a tray of the chocolate chip if I know that I got people coming over, because I got 2 dogs. It makes the house smell good and cozy, right? But here's the thing with the Sweet Lorenz. Around Christmas time, I jazz them up and do different things with them. So one of the things I'll do, because they're kind of hard, and so I put them in the oven and I let them start to cook, and they start to melt and make more cookie shape. And I will go in with a spoon and just flatten them a little bit, and then I add just a little bit of jam that cooks in the center, and now I've got a different kind of cookie, or I'll add some kind of candy or something so that each one looks a little bit different. And you can have something that somebody really loves and make them really special. You can ice these or eat them plain. They're really quite lovely. Sweet Lorenz, and super easy, and you can get it almost any grocery store. All of these things that I'm talking about are pretty widely available, except for, I think, this next one. Okay, so I've actually called the Purdue company because I cannot get these in my local grocery stores anymore. They stopped carrying them. Purdue assures me that they are out there and that we all need to talk to our grocery store clerks. Here's the thing. Our grocery store stopped carrying this particular Purdue brand, and they started carrying the frozen ones. And I feel that this is because they would sell out constantly. Every once in a while, they would go on sale, and people like me would come and buy 8 packages of them because they were so great. They're fresh, they're gluten-free, and usually when you find them, they're organic. It's Purdue Simply Smart chicken breast tenders. So they're a little bit bigger than a chicken nugget, and they're kind of like fish shaped in a weird way. I'm telling you, there's nothing better. I can serve these to absolutely anyone. They feel like they came from a trendy restaurant where they were making like mozzarella sticks, and chicken tenders. They're moist, they're tender, they smell good, they taste good. We absolutely love these, and now we can't get them, but I'm told Purdue, I wouldn't put them on this list if nobody could get them. And I think if all of us went to our grocery store people and said, why are you not having these anymore? They do make them frozen, and I do want to say that the frozen ones, my son says, are good, but they're so much easier. They come in a little black tray. You throw them in the microwave on a paper plate for 2 minutes, and you've got lunch for everybody. And everyone I know, gluten-free or not, loves these chicken breast tenders from Purdue, Simply Smart. So if you can find them, good luck to you. And I hope that you can find them because they're phenomenal. You got to try them at least once. Okay. Number 4, the Udi's French bread baguettes. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I had not tried these. And then for Easter dinner, I needed some sort of a roll situation and I couldn't figure it out. And all they had was the French baguettes. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make some garlic bread with these. And it was so good. That's all anybody talked about for 2 days. So what an amazing thing to be able to do to make some garlic bread if you want to have that go with your ziti. And all I did was I took these, and while it was still frozen, I cut slices down the length of both of them. And I took some, we use Earth Balance, the organic one, and I melted it in the microwave, and I added a bunch of garlic to it. I added a little bit of salt, parsley, and I think that's it. And I brushed each side of the garlic bread, each side of the slice, wrapped it up in tin foil and baked it. And everybody raved about it. It was chewy and wonderful and so good. So you gotta love a little bit of garlic bread with the Udi's French baguettes. Pretty fabulous. And frozen, so you can have them in the freezer and only pull them out when you need a special treat. Number 3 on the hit parade. Oh my gosh, this stuff is so good. Canyon Bakehouse makes gluten-free bread, and they've got several different varieties, and they're all great. Nobody does that soft, like most of the other breads that are gluten-free, you got to toast them. And the Canyon Bakehouse breads, you don't have to. They're good toasted, like they're so fabulous toasted, but you can make a sandwich and you don't have to toast the bread. And this Hawaiian sweet, hands down, our favorite one. And I'm not the only one. There's something about it that is just, you know, those Hawaiian rolls that, you know, everybody gets at Thanksgiving time? It's like that, but in a bread and better, and it's gluten-free on top of that. Shut up. It's so good. And I'll tell you, they make several different varieties. Another one that's my favorite, but it's almost like I can't be around it because I just love it so much I could eat an entire loaf of it, is their cinnamon raisin bread. Stop, it so hurt me good. So good stuff. If you're trying to make sandwiches and you are sending your child to school and you know you don't want to send them with toast that's dry, like this is so good. You could send any kind of a sandwich and put it in the Ziploc bag, and it's not only is it going to taste good and it's nutritious and it's all of those things, but your kid, you know, people aren't going to be looking at their food going, why does your food look different than mine? Right? It's going to look right the same and so fabulous, and that sweetness to it, really good. Parker says Udi's is served at Jersey Mike's. Yes, you can get that at a lot of places now. You can get the gluten-free alternative, and it's really good. They do on their sandwiches on Udi's bread. Really good. Wonderful. Oh, Parker, your manager, your neighbor is a manager at Kroger's. Can you lobby? Because I've asked our Ralph's people, and they're like, we're not carrying it anymore. And it just makes me cry. We can't get our hands on them. Somebody needs to lead the charge, Parker. Can you do that for us? Okay, but Canyon Bakehouse, gluten-free, especially the Hawaiian sweet, but try all the flavors. So good and soft. Oh, yummy. All right, number 2. Okay, if I were Oprah, these would be on my best thing ever list. Breads from Anna, banana bread mix, and the pumpkin bread mix. In fact, this is usually what I give friends who are gluten-free and some who are not gluten-free for Christmas. We tend to make little gift baskets for people, and often, you know, people get very strange things in their gift baskets, and they get my wonky mugs sometimes. But especially if you are a gluten-free household, you get either a banana bread mix or a pumpkin bread mix, or, you know, it's in some years we've given both. I order them by the case right before the holidays start so that I have it on hand for me and that I have it for gifts, because this stuff is off the chain. It is made with honey, not sugar, first of all. And they are so good. Now, with both of these mixes, and can I also say that they have a black bean brownie mix that, again, I cannot eat because I'm allergic to chocolate, But I made some for 4th of July, year before last, and everybody went nuts over them. So when you get breads from Anna Mixes, and Anna is a real person who, I think we've had her on the show. I'm pretty sure we've interviewed her. She is, I believe, celiac, and it became really important to her to be able to have good bread. So she has a bunch of different mixes, but these are by far I can't live without these two things. Now, when you get the mix, you have to add things to them, right? You have to add eggs, and in the case of the banana bread, you have to add bananas. And in the case of the pumpkin bread, you have to add some pumpkins, like some canned pumpkin to it. Oh my gosh, it's so good though. Often what I'll do in like the winter months, and I know I live in California, but it still gets really cold and the houses aren't insulated. What I will do often is if I'm up early in the morning, I have one of those blender things that, you have the cup and you put things in the cup and then you stick it upside down and it goes, and it mixes it up. A bullet, but like the less expensive version of the bullet. And so I mix it in that. I take the eggs and all the wet ingredients, the eggs and the pumpkin or the banana, whatever, and I stick it in the bullet. I can't think of what the word is, the bullet thing. And I mix that all up because here's one of the tricks when you're making, and I do the same thing with the next one that I'm going to talk about too. When you're making a gluten-free bread, you don't want to beat the flour too much. I don't know why, but it just can't take it. So you really want to make sure your eggs and all your liquid things are mixed really, really well. And then you kind of fold that in until all of the flour ingredients are wet. But you don't want to, when you're making a typical cake mix, you beat the holy you-know-what out of it, right? You don't want to do that with gluten-free bread. So I beat the holy you-know-what out of it in the bullet with the eggs and the banana and the pumpkin or whatever it is, and then add that to it. It takes so much less time to clean up and so much less time to do it this way because I don't have to get out the mixer and all of that stuff. I just throw it into the cup, and then I mix it with, the little spatula until it's all really mixed up and all of it is wet. And then I put it into the bread things and I pop it into the oven. It has to bake for a little over an hour in my house. And it makes the whole house smell like love on a cold winter morning. This stuff is so good. This is how long we've been using this stuff. When my son was little and having therapy at the house, and the behavior technicians, we called them therapists at the time, they would come to the house and I would always be making the banana bread and the pumpkin bread because it was so, so good. And they were never allowed to eat anything, but I would send them, they could take something to go, right? And people would come back and go, hey, do you have any more of that banana bread? Do you have any more of that? Are you making the pumpkin bread? Can I take a piece home? And then I would have to break the news to them, oh, that's gluten-free, by the way. It's gluten-free and it doesn't have any sugar in it. It has honey in it. And people would go, stop. Are you kidding me? It's the best banana bread. It's the best pumpkin bread I have ever had in my whole life. Of all ingredients. And you can add nuts to these, but they don't come with nuts, and so you have the choice to make it nut-free, which is really wonderful. So, okay, Parker says, let me know what the product is so I can ask him first chance I see him. It's the Purdue Fresh, the guy from Kroger's, Parker. It's the Purdue Fresh, Simply Smart, organic, gluten-free chicken tenders. Those are the ones. I can go back to the picture in a second and tell you. But now it is time for the number one, my favorite gluten-free thing, the thing I will not be without ever again in my life, that we were ordering this online during the lockdown and it's hard to find sometimes. Now, I made such a big fuss about it. People tell me that, let me go to it right now. King Arthur Classic Yellow Gluten-Free Cake Mix. Now they tell me you can get it at Target, you can get it at Walmart, you can get it in most grocery stores. For the longest time, they were only carrying the chocolate, which I don't make because I'm allergic to chocolate, but people have told me it's really good, but everyone moans over this classic yellow cake mix. So, okay, I do so many different things with this. First of all, if there's a birthday, this is what I make for the cake. I've made many cakes over the years for Wyatt Jackson for his birthday, for my son's birthday, if it's my birthday, whatever. And a lot of times I will make 2 or 3 boxes at a time and stack them because I know it's going to get eaten. So you can make a birthday cake. I will tell you that you can get frosting that is dairy free and that easily the Mrs. Jones. Usually they sell that in most grocery stores too, or you can get it at Sprouts or Whole Foods, whatever. Really good frosting. It mixes pretty well. It's not the same consistency as frosting, but I have not had good luck with making frosting on my own. Just putting it out there. For my son's most recent birthday, my grandnieces were visiting, and I tried to make frosting, and it was like like an expensive mess that I made that we had to throw away. And then I sent my husband to the store to get some Miss Jones, and we wanted it to be lemon flavored. So my niece added lemon juice to all of the spreadable frosting. So we did this cake, and it was 4 layers, and each layer had the lemon frosting and lemon frosting on it. And everybody just was like gazanga over this cake. But that's not the only thing that I make with this cake. I make zucchini muffins. So I do the cake mix, and then I shred a bunch of zucchini, and it makes double whatever it was gonna make before. So if it's 24 cupcakes, now I've got that many more because it's got zucchini, and everybody loves them. And you can do the same thing. You can add carrot to it. You can add anything you want to use it as a base for a muffin mix, anything. And there's a sweetness to it. And I have a friend who turned me on to this actually, who actually made just the cake and cut it into squares and didn't frost it at all. And put it out for teenage boys and said, oh, I've got some cake squares. And it almost looked like an old-fashioned honey cake, because it gets this crust on it that's a little, I don't know. My son was like, oh, I can't have it. He's at this party, and he says, oh, I can't have it. And she said, why not? And he said, because I'm gluten-free. And she said, no, honey, that's gluten-free. And he thought she didn't know what she was talking about, right? And he was like, no, really, seriously. And she said, yeah, no, I'm celiac. That's a gluten-free cake. So he tasted it, and he said, wow, this is amazing. This is really wonderful. Can I take home a piece to my mom? And so he sent it home, and I'm like looking at it, and it's moist, and it holds up. It's not crumbly, and it's got this sort of layer on the top that's extra, a little bit sweet. And I thought, oh, she must have like put some sort of syrup on the top. Called her. She said, nope, that's just how that cake bakes. I'm telling you, that's the best cake mix. You will absolutely love it. Easy peasy to use, and you can do so many different things with this cake mix. You add whatever flavors that you want. I'm going to say this, and I don't know that she's going to appreciate me, but I have a dear friend, someone who has been on this show before, who makes some really wonderful gluten-free things. And I was trying to convince her to make something with this, and she was like, no, I have my brand. I like my brand. I'm going to use my other brand. I said, okay. And then she couldn't get her brand for whatever reason. And I said, okay, well, I've got these, so use these. And she went, oh, my goodness, this is better. So there you go. So truly wonderful. But all of these things are, what do I want to say? These are for those moments when you want to feel like everybody can eat the same thing. When you're cooking for a bunch of people and some of them are gluten-free and some of them aren't, and you don't want to be a short order cook, and you want to cook and feel like the same as everybody else. You want to send the sandwich and have it look like everybody else, but you want it to taste good too. It's not just what it looks like, it's what it tastes like, but it's also a little bit what it looks like, right? So those moments when you're like, I just want something and I want it to feel like what it always felt like before. These are the 10 products that you got to have. And those were the 10 ways that I made it. I forgot to mention that, can we go back to the very first slide, Traven? That in that first slide, which the title slide, there was the picture. So that is French toast. That is one of the many things that I do with that Canyon Bakehouse. That's with the Hawaiian sweet, but you could do that with any of the flavors. My goodness, just imagine how great that would be with the cinnamon raisin. Incredible, insane. But 2 seconds this takes. I have a big old iron skillet that sits on my stove always, and I take a little bit of earth balance, and I throw a little pat of earth balance in that cast iron pan while I'm getting out the eggs and the bread. Right? And in the time that it takes me to, crack 2 eggs into a low bowl and go whip, 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 whip with the fork, and then I stick, and I don't do anything else to it. I know people are like, you got to add water, you got to add milk. No, you don't. Just egg, and then I do 3 pieces because it's so good, 2 isn't enough, right? And then throw it in the skillet. It's like a minute on each side till it's nice and brown, and you flip it. And then I throw some strawberries. I didn't even take the tops off of them whenever I made this, and throw it. What a nice breakfast. And I got to tell you that, you can put more butter on top of them for the French toast, and you can put more syrup. My son likes them bare because there's a sweetness to the bread. He's like, no, I like that better than to put the syrup on it. But if you want the syrup, I would do, you don't need much, right? Because the bread is already sweet, but I do a lovely organic, real maple syrup, not the fake stuff. So many different things that you can do. Having these 10 products in my house lets me be able to do anything that I need to be able to do for any special occasion. I need to bake a pie. I need to, one of the things you talked about, Parker, was making pasta. And I'm not a big pasta maker for myself, but you absolutely could make like an egg noodle with that 1-to-1. You could absolutely do that. I know that it's a little bit more expensive to be able to do the Barilla penne than probably, we have Trader Joe's here. You can go to Trader Joe's and you can get pasta and you can get gluten-free pasta, and it's pretty inexpensive. I'm willing to pay a little bit more to do the Barilla, quite honestly. I love the Trader Joe's cheese, but the pasta, nobody's beating the Barilla for me right now. And it's so convenient, super easy to do. So these are the things that I keep in my house so that we can do almost anything. Are there other things that we eat that don't have these? Yes. I would tell you that the main staples of our diet are other things than this, but these supplement and make it so that I don't think anybody feels deprived of gluten in our house. I also want to say, and we're going to be talking about this next week too, about like what can you make and how do you put together a meal and how do you do it economically and have it be something that kids would want to eat, because kids want to eat what kids want to eat. So notice we had the chicken tenders on there. I also want to say that one of the things that didn't make the list, but is really, I think a lot of people eat them, the Ore-Ida tater tots, gluten-free tater tots. But here's how I was taught how to put together a meal. And I don't remember who taught me this, but you picture the plate and you picture it sectioned into 3 sections. And one thing has to be a protein, and one thing has to be a carb, and one thing has to be a vegetable. And then you can put a little dollop of fat in the middle, like a button nose on this tri-plate. And if the protein is significantly bigger than the other 2, then you got a problem. But if the carb thing is taking up half the plate, then you got a carb problem, right? So each one of them is sort of equal and even. And that's the way I was always raised to look at it. And it's how I've tried to raise Jem to look at it, that if he's going to put together a meal for himself, and you don't get it right every single time. And then there's special occasions where you're not getting it right at all, right? But if we try to follow that sort of guideline. So if there was chicken nuggets on the plate, then that would be both a protein and a little bit of a carb because it's breaded, right? But it's gluten-free. But you could do tater tots in there too, the Ore-Ida tater tots. Now you've got carb. You're a little carb heavy here, but not horribly so, right? But then you've got that third thing, and what's the vegetable? Now, if you go to schools in the United States, they'll tell you that the ketchup is the vegetable. I'm here to tell you that the ketchup is not a vegetable. that we really need to have a real vegetable in there. And I'm a great one for not starting a war. Like, what will your kids eat? And start there. That will your kids, and a lot of times kids like to dip. They're like, oh, I'll eat a carrot because I can dip it in the ranch. And there are some ways to do gluten-free, dairy-free ranch if that's what you're trying to do. I would rather see a kiddo eat ranch dressing with carrots than have them not eat the carrots, because their little systems need to be accommodating fiber and things that are of the vegetable nature. So, you could absolutely do that. Is it a perfect nutritional meal? No. But is it close enough? I call it close enough. Because then eventually, if I can get a kid to eat carrot sticks with ranch, then I can get them to eat cucumber sticks with ranch. Some of them I can get to eat celery, others not, right? Celery is one of those iffy vegetables. I'll tell you what else you can get them to eat are snow peas. And if you get good ones, they'll eat them raw and love them. And you'll find that if you put the little dipping sauce on there, whatever the dipping sauce is, that they'll start out with that, and then you just put a little less of the dipping sauce and a little less of the dipping sauce, right? But so each one of the things that we were talking about here, except maybe cake, there's a way that you can present it, that you can add other things to it, either alongside or with it, like making the zucchini muffins. My goodness. I mean, my son loves when I make the zucchini muffins, and it's this time of year, right? I didn't plant zucchini this year. I have everything else under the sun, but I didn't plant zucchini. But it's this time of year that you've got to pick them, or they end up being as big as baseball bats, right? And when they get as big as baseball bats, what do you do with them? Well, you scoop out the seeds and you shred the rest of that and you throw it in that cake mix, and suddenly your kids will be eating zucchini by the cupful. They don't even know they're eating it, but they are. It's a good time. I sneak vegetables into all kinds of things. I do that to make sure that my husband eats vegetables. I don't have to do that with my son because we didn't allow him to have a lot of sugar when he was little. And so he loves vegetables because there's a lot of sugar content in vegetables people don't realize. All right, so that's our top 10 gluten-free products that we think that you absolutely have to try. I want to run through them one last time because we got a couple of minutes here, and let's talk specifically about where you buy it, where do you order it from. Although most of these things are available in your local grocery store and or on Amazon. So Bob's Red Mill, you can get the one-to-one baking flour. Almost every grocery store is going to have it, and it's going to be in the aisle probably with all of the flour, although sometimes people have a gluten-free section, right? You definitely can get this at Whole Foods and at Sprouts, but you should be able to find it in your regular grocery store, and I know for a fact that you can get it on Amazon. Best, wonderful. Number 9, the Barilla gluten-free penne. Again, most grocery stores have this, although some of them are getting very fussy. I see that stores are buying out the shelf space for the gluten-free stuff with a new company that I have not yet tried. I don't know, at some point I'll try it, but I love this so much. But you can get it at most grocery stores still. I don't know if you guys have Smart and Final where you are. They almost always have it at Smart and Final. I usually buy several boxes at a time because they sell out. So definitely get this, and I'm pretty sure you can get this on Amazon as well. The Scar pizza crust, I absolutely order these online. I get them from Thrive Market, which is a great place to get all kinds of products that have, whether it's, I just ordered a new hair gel from them, and I get most of my spices from Thrive Market. It is, I think it's $5 a month, don't quote me, and then they ship it to you. So I absolutely get it there, but I've seen these available in Walmart. They usually have a Scar section, and Sprouts. I don't know if they have these at Whole Foods or not, but I'm pretty sure you can order them from Amazon as well. But I love it from Thrive. I get a discount when I get them from Thrive. The Holy Wholesome, they even have this during the holiday season at Trader Joe's, but most grocery stores have these. Again, they sell out. And I was just told, because I was making quiche for the 4th of July. I was having people over for a brunch, and I wanted to put them in the gluten-free pie shells, even though nobody that was coming was gluten-free. We liked these so well, they were out of them. So when you can get them, I put a stash. I always try to make sure I have 4 just in case. They're great with quiche too, by the way. Oh, easy, easy peasy making quiche. Okay, the Sweet Lorenz, they're available. These are cookie mixes that you find them in most grocery stores now. I believe they have them in Walmart and Target as well, but most grocery stores have them. They're refrigerated, and they're by where like the biscuits and things are in the refrigerated section. So really good. Try all the varieties of those. And then the Perdue Simply Smart gluten-free breaded chicken breast tenders. These, again, they're made by Perdue, and these are available when you can find them if your grocery store is carrying them, and they're usually in the aisle, the refrigerated aisle that's like where the hot dogs and the lunch meats are, is usually where you'll find that. These have suddenly become very scarce, and a lot of grocery stores have stopped carrying them, but Parker's going to help see if we can get Kroger to carry them again. Because I can't find them anywhere. You can also get the Perdue frozen ones at most grocery stores, but I gotta say, I think that these are just that much better. Okay, number 4, the Udi's French baguettes, gluten-free. Again, these are in the frozen section, and you can get them, I believe Target has them, I believe Walmart has them, and most grocery stores have them. And I know that they have them at Whole Foods. I would bet that they have them at Sprouts as well. Number 3, Canyon Bakehouse gluten-free bread, especially the Hawaiian Sweet. This is available now at a lot of grocery stores, but you can for sure find it at Whole Foods and Sprouts. But check with your local grocery store. I was so excited to find it at my just local grocery store the other day. I was thrilled. So I think Kroger is for sure carrying them now. And try all the varieties. Now, sometimes this will be in the frozen aisle, sometimes it's in the fresh aisle. It depends on the store. Number 2, the breads from Anna. These are the ones that are a little bit different than everything else. Occasionally, depending on where you live, you might be able to find it in the store. I have to order it directly from Anna. I don't understand why. Nobody in Los Angeles carries them. They did for a while at Gelson's, and I have not seen them for a long time at Gelson's. So I just order directly from the Breads from Anna. You can go to Breads from Anna. I think it's breadsfromanna.com, but check Google Breads from Anna, and they're in Iowa, and which is no relation to me whatsoever, even though I have relatives in Iowa. But that's where they are, and I just order them by the case. I get a discount because I order by the case, and believe me, I use them. So really wonderful. And while you're ordering, you should try the black bean brownie thing because it's really good. And then, of course, the King Arthur gluten-free classic yellow cake mix, my number 1 favorite thing on the face of the planet for gluten-free mix. Absolutely amazing. Again, I'm told that they have it at Target and Walmart, and that you can get it in most grocery stores. You can get it at Whole Foods, and I believe at Sprouts as well. And I know for sure you can get it from Amazon because I ordered it many times during the lockdown. So those are my top 10, you guys. I hope that this is helpful to you. For those of you who are like, well, I just can't. For years, I made watermelon cakes for my son, stacking a watermelon with all the fruit and everything. And he loved that. He loves fruit. But now, he gets a birthday cake. And he loves that too. So it's just another way that we can make everybody feel special and not feel like they're doing without. Because nobody wants to feel like they're missing out, that FOMO thing, right? We don't want that. All right, you guys, big announcements. Tomorrow, we are here live in studio with Dr. Doreen Grant-Bichet in person. She may or may not have some pretty exciting announcements to make tomorrow. We'll see what she has to say, but she's going to be answering your questions. And of course, I forgot what the topic is. I know what it is. It's having the whole family, what role the family plays in for autism. So we're taking questions about that, family questions, but taking questions about anything. You can send those right now to Dr. Doreen's website. or you can send them in to us, or you can write them in live during the show tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, we had the fabulous Jed Baker on last Wednesday, and so many of you made comments, and I was just in so much awe because, you know, he's one of my heroes, like Dr. Grandin, like Dr. Grandpichet. Dr. Baker is, you know, he's right up there, right? And especially talking about social skills. And he said at the end of the program, he said, I'd love to come back and do a Q&A. So on Wednesday, he's here live on Wednesday answering your questions. So I've gotten a couple of questions already sent in, but I would love it if you have a question that you would like Dr. Baker. You can ask about anything. He's got so many great books that are out. His one, Overcoming Anxiety in Children and Teens. Whew, you have questions about anxiety, write in and ask him about that. But especially his new book on social skills it's his old book but redone. It's the 20th edition, 20th anniversary edition. So he's going to be with us on Wednesday, and you're going to absolutely love it. So I'd love for as many as you possible to ask as many questions as possible. All right. So that's what we got going on the next couple of days. Very, very exciting. All right. I will see you guys tomorrow for Ask Dr. Doreen. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.